Tennessee will have quite a bit of availability this week, and it will start with Josh Heupel at the podium. Then you'll have defensive coordinator Tim Banks, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Joey Halzle, and then later in the afternoon, you will have Joe Milton III, which you would expect. Jabari Small, running back, you would expect. Defensive end Tyler Barron, you would expect. Linebacker Aaron Beasley, center Cooper Mays, defensive back Danico Slaughter. Expect all those. Great surprise. The second rotation, which will be a little bit later, will be Brew McCoy, maybe the best NFL prospect on the team. Squirrel White, poised for a fantastic second season at Tennessee. Linebacker Keenan Pili. By the way, I do read into a lot of these, how these guys have had off-season camps. So I mentioned Slaughter yesterday. We mentioned Pili as an important player. Defensive back Tamarian McDonald will be there as well. Defensive tackle Amari Thomas. Little surprised by McDonald, but good for him. He's had a good offseason. Thomas, no surprise, he was at SEC Media Days. But then you also have in that second group a guy that we all know his name, and we all know how important he has been to rebuilding Tennessee's program. And his name, of course, is Nico
Iamaleava.
Iamaleava. I can't recall ever, and I'm willing to bet money that Arch Manning doesn't talk to the media at Texas's media day. I can't recall a freshman quarterback coming in with a guy who is so seemingly locked into the starter position as an upperclassman. I can't remember a freshman talking to the media. This to me is worth note. Not saying it's a red flag that Joe Milton hadn't gotten things done, but it's worth note. It's worth note for a couple of different potential reasons. Please hit the like button and subscribe button. If you haven't set your notifications, do that. So I'm going to give you some options, Caleb, of what this means. This means, A, they think they might need Nico in a real situation at some point this season. So get him used to the camera, get him used to the spotlight. B, this is somehow tied to his NIL money. Okay. Or C, which would be the most simple and preferred among all of Tennessee's fan base, be just this, and that is he has had such a great offseason. He deserves a little bit of pub, which might be simply the case. But, Caleb, I will say that I wonder if he is out there for more than just getting the pub. He doesn't need any pub. What do you read into him being available to the media on preseason media day when, by all indications, this is Joe Milton's team? What do you think of him being trotted out there? Because this is not a nothing. I will say that. It's a something. We just don't know what that something is. But he will visit with the media as a freshman with a senior starter in place. What do you make of that?
I think there's a D. It's recruiting. Josh Heupel is still on the trail trying to lure some wide receivers to Knoxville, lure some running backs, lure some offensive linemen particularly. And Joe Milton's not your recruiting tool. Nico is your recruiting tool. And so I think that you want to tout Nico out more than anything. Look, Tennessee is branding him the heir apparent. This isn't something I haven't seen before, even if someone hasn't been trotted out to the media. Let's be honest. We all knew that Tim Tebow was going to be the next star in college football when he was backing up Chris Leak in 2006. That like Urban Meyer was basically making it known Tim Tebow is the future of this program that we're building in Florida. You kind of see that with Nico. I think Josh Heupel's just making it clear. There's no secret who the quarterback's going to be the next year. I think this reads more into Jake Merklinger, the quarterback who committed to the 2024 class, and Joe Milton, because I'm thinking, I don't know if I would commit to Tennessee if I'm a quarterback, because I think Heupel's making it very clear. I'm starting Nico in 2024, period, end of story.
Could be. At some point, though, no matter what Joe Milton does, I believe Nico has more physical ability. So at some point, even if Joe Milton is a B plus to A minus player, does Nico make a push because he's an A plus player? Could that happen in year one? I wonder. I see him on this list and I was incredibly surprised. And I see him on the list of guys being interviewed. Everybody on the list has made big time plays except for Nico. And him being on this list is a statement. Exactly what kind of a statement, if it's recruiting or if it's, hey, this guy could play. Is it completely just obscene, crazy to think that Josh Heupel could come out? I'm not saying a 2-quarterback system like when Tom Landry rotated players every play. Okay. I'm not going crazy, but there might be some things that Nico does better than Joe. I think they're similar type of athletes. We're not talking about a Peyton Manning, Brandon Stewart. One's a pocket guy, one's a runner. We're not talking about that. Okay. But could there be some things that Nico does better where he gets his series early on in the season in the first half with the game still in question and Joe Milton playing just fine? Would you rule that out? What would you think the odds of that would be?
Very, very low. I don't think Heupel would do that. And I largely don't think if Joe Milton is B to B plus and anything higher, just to keep the locker room, he's going to keep Joe Milton in as a starter this year. Even though there are things Nico does better. I mean, look, you and I both know already straight out the gate, Nico has a better deep ball, but he's got a better deep ball than even Hendon Hooker did. And so, I mean, he's got a
more accurate.
Beautiful, more accurate. Yes. Yes, he's got a more accurate deep ball, which is deep ball accuracy is the most important ability in Josh Heupel's system beyond anything else. And so from that regard, yeah, you could see that, but I don't see him bringing in Nico unless Nico actually wins the job. And I'm not seeing Nico win the job anymore unless Joe Milton loses it, largely because it seems like the team is totally behind Joe Milton. And the last thing you want to do is split the team in that way. You don't want a situation like you had in 2005 with Rick Clausen and Eric Ainge, when even though Eric Ainge was the better long-term quarterback, Rick Clausen had outperformed Ainge, was clearly the guy the team wanted the whole time.
Well, let me stop you for half a second, Caleb. I think there were some players that were a little bit resentful, maybe not the right word, but they thought it was curious that Joe Milton started the 2021 season because they thought Hendon Hooker was better. And I think some of the players believe that they went with Joe Milton because Joe Milton, you had brought this up months ago, and then I asked around. And it took me a while, sorry. But there were some people within the program that thought that Joe Milton was the starter in 2021 because he was Heupel's guy. And the other guy, Hendon Hooker, was Pruitt's guy. So that does affect a team. You're right. But also these guys know when a player is better. So if in practice they think Nico's better, I don't think you're going to lose anybody as far as from a chemistry standpoint because Nico's better and if he goes out there and plays, and especially if he plays better. I think these players want to win. I think we read more into maybe they get their feelings hurt than they actually get their feelings hurt.
But I don't think Nico is going to I thought it might happen in the spring. I don't think so now. I don't think Nico is going to actually prove himself to be better than Joe. I think he's going to really, really push Joe. But I don't think he's going to prove himself to be better. And I'm with you. By the way, don't forget this with Joe Milton. Heupel added Joe Milton as a Michigan transfer who couldn't get on campus for spring practice in time, but he had Joe Milton patrolling the sidelines, not able to play during the spring game. And it had become very clear that Joe Milton was going to be the starter, and it didn't matter what happened in spring practice or fall camp. And I thought Hendon Hooker was railroaded then. I wrote about it then. I thought it was really unfair. And I could see how he lost some of the team. I think Joe Milton went about winning the team back, though. I think it resonated with a lot of people that he stayed. I was listening to you. Was it Jacob Warren you were interviewing last week, saying there wasn't a doubt in anybody's mind that Milton was going to leave?
Yeah, they said they weren't even checking like their phones to see if he had entered the portal. There was just zero chance. Yes, he said.
Yeah,
that.
And Joe Milton was a leader from the bench throughout the last 2 years, and I think what they may have thought about him then, I think resonates in a different way now. The same way Again, so I think Nico would actually have to fully outperform him, even though we think he's better. And I don't know if Nico's going to start beating him out in practice in fall camp. Maybe he will. I don't know. But I see on a much lesser level. Again, that's why I brought up Ainge and Clausen. We all knew Ainge was going to be the better quarterback. But that year in 2005, Rick Clausen was better than Eric Ainge in that moment just because he was not as reckless. And, I mean, Dave, you tell me, in 1994, did Peyton Manning, Brandon Stewart split the team at all? Maybe it did, but I'm pretty sure everybody rallied around Peyton Manning by 1995.
Yes, but I will tell you in 94, it was probably 60-40. People thought that Peyton should be the guy. It was very close, which sounds bizarre, I know, in retrospect. All right, so let me ask you today's tough question. It's brought to you by Zen Sports.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Is Nico talking to the media a big something, a little something, or a nothing? And it's brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code HOOKED. Use HOOKED. That's right, unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting, keep earning, with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that, and refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you're betting big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. All right, today's tough question. Nico talking to the media. Big something, little something, nothing. What say you?
Little something. It means that there is not an open competition in 2024. That's what that means. There's no open competition. Nico's the starter after Joe Milton leaves in 2024.
Well, that to me is a big something because you're telling Zach Merklin to go kick rocks.
Yeah, Jake Merklin. Yeah, he basically is. He is telling Jake Merklin.
And that's a big something.
Yes. Okay, fine. No, that's a big something.
I'm officially changing your answer to big something.
Okay. No, I'll go big something. That's fine. Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah, it's a big something. I think it makes it very clear that Nico is his starter after Joe Milton leaves. I think it's pretty much that.
I think it's a big something either because of what you said or what you said in recruiting. And if it's recruiting, it's a little something because you're not going to get a commitment just because Nico talks to the media. But I think it's a big something either because of what you just said or maybe he is pushing more than we think. And I understand this is conspiracy theorist time, but I'm just telling you, covering football for a quarter of a century, this is incredibly odd to have the freshman out there to visit with the media since every player was available. There was a time that every single player was available and you could go up and down the line and interview 1 to 99 on the depth chart. But this to me it's a big something. I mean,
it happened the same day that Milton's on the Maxwell list too, which is hilarious because we're talking like Milton might be is a candidate for the best college football player of the year, while Nico might be pushing him for his job.
Now the other thing, yes, I mean the other thing it could be is, and I know Rocky Top Tom's not going to like this because he's right, it could be a distraction, but if he's promised to talk to the media a certain amount of times because of his NIL agreement, then I'm going to jump on board with Rocky Top Tom and say this NIL thing could screw all of college football up because you shouldn't make decisions with your football program based on an NIL agreement. Like whatever it may be, Acme Tool Supplies shouldn't be able to say, I'll sponsor Nico if he talks to the media once a week.
Right.
Sometimes he might not deserve to talk to the media.
Hey, guess what? That happens in the NFL all the time. How many players are kind of forced into a starting role in the NFL because they may have gotten a contract they shouldn't have gotten? I mean, that's how the NFL works. I mean, money's part of the deal. You don't think Jay Gruden was under a lot of pressure to start RG3 over Kirk Cousins a few years ago in Washington? and because of all the trades Dan Snyder made and the money he gave for RG3, whereas he still made the decision to start Kirk Cousins. I mean, coaches in the NFL have to deal with that every day.
Well, these are still young men. These are kids that can get their feelings
Oh,
hurt.
they're student athletes.
Okay, but what? Okay,
Student comes first. No, it doesn't.
Well, I know, I agree, but they're young men. You think Joe Milton's cool with Nico talking to the media? I wouldn't be. I didn't get to talk to the media when I was a freshman.
Yeah, well, okay, but maybe Joe Milton is cool or not cool. I think Joe Milton has, if he has any intangibles whatsoever, he handles this well and doesn't lose his starting job and make sure he keeps it.
Fair point. Let's turn it into a positive. He's so confident in what he's done, he doesn't care if Nico talks to the media all day long. I mean, he doesn't care if he goes before Josh Heupel because he's that confident in himself. That's a very good possibility.